Welcome everybody, it's Lost in Plot, and we are back with the pilot episode of Showtime's original series, Yellowjackets.
This is a brand new series for Showtime, and it's doing pretty well for them. So what is Yellowjackets about? Well, it's set in two different timelines. One in 1996 with this group of girls for the varsity soccer team, and the other one in current day when they're kind of middle-aged, older women. And this really is a story about a group with a terrible secret.
That's right, that's the hook. Essentially, if I'm pitching this to you, this is female Lord of the Flies with a 90s varsity soccer team. That's the hook. You know you're going to tune in every single week to see, I want to see when these bitches are going to go Lord on the Flies on one another. That's what you're looking for. They know that's the hook. But they sucker you in and force you to watch all the melodrama and character back and forth before they're going to give you any type of a glimpse of the insanity that takes place after the plane crashes.
And it is an unraveling mystery, so every time you check in, you're going to flash back to 1996 to find a little bit more about what happened after this plane crash. We get glimpses of it in the first episode, and it is very apt to describe it as Lord of the Flies. I thought it even had a little touch of an Evil Dead flair when the woman is running through the woods like that, where there could be some kind of supernatural element as well. Did you get any of that?
I didn't get a supernatural element. It seems like there's just some... it seems like they just go savage, right? That's the whole thing. And you only get glimpses of it, which isn't, in my opinion, part of the flaw of the show is that it's not provocative enough to really capture my interest. It's like, okay, that's where you're going, but you're going to, like, dole it out in small bits, pieces, and glimpses and not give us anything that's really too provocative to hook us. That's a problem. And the other problem is, I don't care. These characters don't make me care.
They try to be provocative, but in the wrong way, with those extreme close-ups of them eating human flesh is what we're supposed to believe. Cannibalism by the end of the episode. That's really what they're teasing. These girls get trapped out there in the wilderness and they turn into, cannibals, just like a Lord of the Flies scenario. And at the end of the episode, we've got this extreme close-up shot of them chewing into the flesh and like the crunching and the squelching of it.
Yeah, they're really trying to force a revulsion or some kind of reaction in you to make you feel like this is gritty and everything else. The problem is it's just not. Like, we've seen people whose planes crash in the mountains and then they have to resort to cannibalism or whatever, and we've all seen Lord of the Flies before. There's nothing really new here and nothing that exciting that will lure me back to say, well, this mystery, above all other mysteries, I need to know what happened. And again, like I said, bad character melodrama that's not provocative or interesting in any way.
Yeah, and in the pilot we meet Shauna, and we meet her in current day. She's married, she's got a kid. It seems like a pretty miserable life, and a reporter kind of comes over and calls her out on that, trying to get the story about what happened in that plane crash. And we see Shauna as kind of the victim. She's the put-upon woman who's kind of lost out because of a lot of this. And then we flash back and we see her in 1996, and she's kind of the same thing. She's kind of the number 2 person on the team to her more popular best friend. But then they twist it at the end of the episode, and that's meant to be the hook, and we find out Shauna is not that victim. She's not that oppressed woman. She's actually the opposite. She's a manipulator, and she manipulates pieces to get what she wants, and she's actually incredibly deceptive.
It wasn't a hook that really worked for me.
No?
Did it work for you?
No, it didn't really work for me either. Anything that was happening in current day, I was pretty bored with. I liked the stuff in 1996. Don't you sometimes wish you could go back and live in 1996?
I think
compared to today?
I think we all do, and
I'd take that ticket.
I'll agree with you. I think the most compelling is when we're seeing the high school girls in the soccer team in the 90s. But the fact that we have not one, not two, but 3 different time periods that we jump back and forth to. We have the modern day.
What is the third one?
We have modern day. We have 1996 in anticipation of the flight, and then we have flash forward to the interesting bit where they're eating people in the woods. Mm-hmm. There's 3 different time periods, which to me it almost adds layers of monotony. It's like, okay, here's the slow scene in the 1990s where the girls are having their relational feuds and conflicts and whatever. Okay, probably the best that the show manages. Now, here's modern day, where we're all pensive, morose, and middle-aged and trying to reconcile with our trauma and just kind of meandering throughout the day. And then it's like, and here's the fractured glimpses of insanity of when all these terrible things happen.
And that's the hook, right? We want to know what happens. Hopefully, they want us to care enough about these characters to really want to know what happened to make them go to this full extreme and what happened out there with the plane. But you hit it on the head. It's the familiarity here that kind of put me off, because we've all seen the plane crash setup, right? We've all seen the groups with a secret setup. So the question is, are we getting anything new here that we haven't really seen before? And I'll say it was well directed. Karen Kusama is the director on this one. She's done some other films like The Invitation and some other things. So she's a pretty good director, and I thought this was a well directed episode. But it's just so familiar to me. Like, I looked at it and I thought to myself, I probably know what's going to happen by the end of this. I probably can guess it. It's something I've seen before. So then I have to care enough about the characters on their own to really go through it and enjoy the...
And there's other ways they could have chosen to do this. There's other ends you could have done. You could have just done the straight story from, all right, we're in 1996, here's this group of girls, they're all on a soccer team, and something's going to happen, right? And you could have told the story from that time point. You could have started
I wish they had. No, I wish they had.
I do too. You could have started your story from the second the plane went down.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to figure things out, and you could flash back or whatever, and then keep it in that time period. But they picked the most boring one, and I don't understand why. It's like, here's after everything happened, looking back, and here are the people that we have to follow now. And
I totally agree. Yeah, I didn't like where they set us up to be, and then flash back to more interesting things. I wasn't really, like I said, everything in modern day I was bored out of my mind with, so I didn't like that either. Okay, so this has been renewed for a second season on Showtime. It's doing fairly well for them. But what are we going to say about this one? Where'd you have
for me, this one's dead. It's a 5 out of 10. It just wasn't interesting enough to move the needle. I wanted to have something interesting, just to have something new, but it was too easy and too identifiable. It's like, okay, you're doing female Lord of the Flies, and you're doing the different time zones where we go back and forth, back and forth. I'm not in for that ride.
Agreed. And the female cast is just not enough. Now, initially, I didn't want to touch this because I thought, oh my God, it's an all-female cast. It's going to be another woke piece of shit. We've had too many of those. Now there's some of that, but yeah, there's some of that, not enough to completely deflate the entire thing. But at the same time, the all-female Lord of the Flies cast isn't enough to bring the newness here to get you to kind of watch. Now, if you buy into the mystery, and it's like any show with a mystery, right? We're going to find out at the end it's some supernatural thing, or they just went crazy, or whatever it is. Do we care? And the only way that we care is if they get us to buy into the characters. Which you certainly didn't.
Yeah,
I'm kind of there too.
Sale.
I had it dead at a 5 out of 10. It was almost there. I could pass, or I could take or leave it, but it's dead for me as well. 5 out of 10. That is Yellowjackets on Showtime.
As mysteries go, maybe you'll find it provocative enough. If you do, let us know in the comments down below. Guys, check us out on Twitter. Like and subscribe. We're going to see you all on the next one.